If you struggle with anxiety, chances are you're making one of these 3 mistakes, and fixing them could change everything.
They're science-backed, easy to put into practice, and something you can start using today.
Life is beautiful.
The Theo Bros Podcast.
Yo, how we doing? I am Mike Theo.
I am Nick Theo,
And you are listening to the Theo Bros Podcast.
where you can count on daily wisdom to get your mind right.
So you know in the opening scene of The Godfather when they're at the wedding and you see Luca Brasi is outside and he keeps repeating, Don Corleone, I am honored and grateful that you have invited me to your daughter's wedding. And he just keeps repeating it. Don Corleone, I am honored and grateful that you have invited me to your daughter's wedding. And you just see this character and you're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Oh, he's nervous.
He's nervous. He has anxiety. And that is the perfect example of mistake number 1 that we all make. It's called rumination. It's when your brain gets stuck replaying the same thought over and over like a broken record instead of moving on. So another way to say it, it's like having a bad song stuck in your head that you just can't get it out. It's those audio tapes that play over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Before we get into a little bit more about rumination, fun fact, if you're a Godfather fan, that scene was actually him like that. I forget the actor's name, but the actor was actually rehearsing his lines and they just captured it on camera.
That's awesome.
And then they just kept it in because it was so iconic that he just kept repeating the same thing.
That's awesome.
So a little fun fact for those who love movies like us. But yeah, the easiest example of this in everyday life is when you fight with your partner, let's say, or you fight with anybody and you go home and you keep replaying the argument in your head. And then like at some points we even say like, oh, I should have said that, right? You just keep replaying the thing in your head instead of just dropping it.
Yeah. Another time this happens often is when we get rejected. And I can think back to when we were applying for the Amazing Race that first time around 7 years ago. And we got that first phone call that told us that we weren't on the race.
Yeah.
I kept playing over and over again our final interview on what we said and what I should have said differently and how we approached this thing. And it was just like exactly what you're saying. But it happens a lot when you get rejected because you're just like, damn, if I did this thing differently, I wouldn't have been that way. And then your brain just keeps going back to it.
Yeah. So the key for this one, fixing this mistake, is twofold. You name it and then you break it. So if you catch yourself ruminating, name it. You literally say, okay, this is rumination. I'm ruminating. I'm catching myself ruminating. And then you break it. So if rumination is a record that's playing on repeat over and over and over again, naming it is basically looking at the record and realizing it's there. Breaking it is scratching the shit out of that record and interrupting the pattern of that thought. And the way you do that is by literally doing anything else. Take a walk, take a shower, text a friend, do something kind. Sing a song, literally anything that is not that thought. And every time you catch that thought, this is ruminations, you scratch it again. This pops up, scratch it again.
Another thing I've heard that called before is called the crowding out technique. So you have this thing that pops in your head and you become aware of it and then you crowd it out by stuffing other stuff in it to push that thing out.
100%. And then by the time you put the record back on, if you keep breaking the pattern enough times, your brain doesn't even like play that song anymore.
Yeah, but really what we're saying here, in order to even capture yourself in that state of rumination, you need one thing, which is awareness of the present moment.
Are you about to plug our meditation course?
No.
TheoBros.com/meditate. Learn to meditate in 5 days, 100% free. Sign up today, okay?
I like it. Very nice. But no, really, present moment awareness is the key to being able to catch yourself in that state of rumination.
Yeah, but having the label is also helpful to increase that awareness. This is rumination.
Yes.
All right, so moving on to mistake number 2, catastrophizing. Can you say that for me, Nick?
No. Catastrophizing. There you go.
There you go. You nailed it. So we started releasing this podcast on YouTube, and the first few videos we posted, we hadn't posted in months, and we're getting like freaking the lowest view rating, like the lowest view counts we've ever gotten on YouTube. And I saw that. This is the perfect example. I saw the first few videos go out and get low views, and my thought process went like this: oh my God, there's such low views. Oh my God, we suck. Oh my God, we really can't do this. Oh my God, we're such failures. Oh my God, we're going to go broke. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. Oh my God. Literally all the way to the point where like, I will never be good at this. I'm going to go broke. Like it basically turns little things into the worst case scenario possible. It projects the worst case.
Vortex of worst case scenarios.
Yes.
It goes from bad to worse.
Yeah. So basically, catastrophizing, the definition is when your brain jumps straight to the worst case scenario, even if that scenario is highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So we all know people who do this very, very often, right? A good example is when you basically ask somebody, how's their day going? And they say, well, I spilled coffee. I'm having the worst morning ever. I spilled coffee on myself this morning. It's like, oh, really? You're having the worst morning ever? Really? Like just because of one little bad thing happened, you're having the worst morning ever? So a good, going back to the movie thing, it's like your brain turns into the world's best movie director. So that coffee spill turns into a movie in your life called End of the World Part 2. Like you're basically, it loves to tell this story about how bad things are, how bad things will get.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what I've noticed is we do this because it gives us meaning a lot of times. So like when you call that person and they say, I'm having the worst day ever, there's coffee spilled on me, and they catastrophize, it's because they know that by doing that, you're going to care. Like you're going to want to care more about them.
I think that's so true. And like a hidden thing that this does to us is it completely depletes us of energy.
Yeah.
And Dale Carnegie has a great quote. He says, our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worrying. And it's so true. When you're constantly worrying about all these things that can go wrong, and then you get to the end of your day, even if you didn't physically do work, you're exhausted. You're mentally exhausted because your brain has been working like extra hours on projecting all these horrible things that can happen.
Yeah. So the solution here, the fix to this mistake is when you catch yourself catastrophizing, pause and ask yourself, what is the most likely outcome, not the scariest? That is really the mental reframe that you need. So yeah, I just brain farted. Let's just move on to number 3, self-criticism.
Okay.
All right. So you ever get pissed at yourself and get pissed at yourself for being pissed at yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, shit, why am I so anxious? I'm so anxious about being anxious. You go down this rabbit hole of just even more anxiety.
It's basically pouring salt into a wound. Or like the analogy I thought of when I was prepping for this episode, it's like, you know, you're cooking a beautiful meal and you make a mistake and you cut your finger, and you got this cut on your finger now, right? And instead of going to the bathroom and getting some medicine and a Band-Aid, you literally open up your fridge, you get a lemon, you cut it in half, and you squeeze the lemon juice right in your cut.
Nice, I like that one. The one that I came up with was, it's like when there's a fire and you try to like use your hand to wave the fire. Mm-hmm. I thought this one was like more practical because you think that you're helping.
Yeah.
Right? You think that by waving your hand, you're actually going to put out the fire, but what are you doing? You're actually spreading the fire even more. You're giving it more oxygen to make it burn even brighter.
Oh, okay.
So you think you're helping. That's what we're doing. The reason why we like beat ourselves up is because we think that we're like beating ourselves up to punish ourselves so that we learn this lesson, like don't be anxious. And this actually also comes from evolution. So we are hardwired to avoid rejection from the groups around us. So being harsh on ourselves was a way for us to self-correct before someone else could do it for us, right? So we want to be accepted, and so we will self-correct before someone else can.
But isn't self-correcting a good thing?
It is, but not.
See, I don't like the word you use there. Self-correcting, I think, is a good thing. Self-criticizing is a different thing. Self-correcting is actually the most important thing in all of life. Self-criticizing is like you take it above and beyond and take out the belt and start whipping yourself.
Yeah.
Right? But self-correcting is, okay, look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the truth. You're doing something wrong and you need to fix it.
I actually think you're totally right. And a lot of my self-criticism comes from my origin stories. Like basically coming home with the 99 and that not being good enough. Like, where's the extra point? As opposed to, oh, wow, that's such a great score. That was what I heard from our parents sometimes. Or getting rejected. Like, basically that sent me into a spiral where I felt I wasn't good enough. And so I was constantly like telling myself I'm not good enough. And so that was another round of self-criticism. So a big part of this work is going deep into your origin story, but a simpler solution for today's episode, like a hack to really get in the right direction, is to talk to yourself in your head the same way you talk to a friend. Because if your friend came to you and they said, I'm feeling super anxious, would you pour lemon juice into their wound? Would you beat the shit out of them and say, you got to stop being anxious? No, you wouldn't. How would you talk to them? You'd say, everything's going to be all right, man. Tell me more. Like, you would give them a gentle, friendly voice. And more than anything, you just let them vent. And that's kind of what you need to do to yourself when the self-criticism comes up, is just surrender a little bit more.
Be a good friend to yourself.
Yep.
Be honest, self-correct, but be a good friend to yourself.
I like that you called me out on that, because that was good. That was accurate. So we just walked you through 3 mistakes that make anxiety worse: rumination, catastrophizing, and self-criticism. The call to action for today's episode is for you to identify which one of these 3 shows up the most for you in your life, which is the biggest culprit for your anxiety, and drop that one in the comments if you have the courage to, because self-awareness is really, really key. And admitting that, it's like AA is the first step. So admitting that that's something that you struggle with is really, really important. So drop it in the comments. Let us know. For me, mine is definitely self-criticism. I struggle with that the most. It's just something that is a lifelong battle, and I am continuously reminding myself to treat myself with more kindness.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine is probably the rumination. Just replaying the things that I did wrong over and over into my head.
Just drop it.
Just drop it.
All right. That concludes today's episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
I love you.
Peace. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end.
If you're new here, we share daily mindset motivation in 10 minutes or less.
So if that's your vibe, hit subscribe or check out another episode right here.